All right, part 3. For those of you who only thought we had part 2, I'm sorry. I'm a little long-winded. I know that's not news to you. All right, let's see. There was a document signed by John Hancock. I hope by now you're already screaming at the video. It is the Declaration of Independence. Because remember, he wrote it so big and he said, let's see if King George can read this. All right, so John Hancock is known for that, for signing that document. He was a wealthy merchant. They were confiscating his ships. They were saying that he was, taking things illegally and smuggling things in. Because remember, we can only sell certain things to England. We couldn't sell to other countries. There's certain things we couldn't grow that we had to import from England. And so anyway, they would just go for no reason and just confiscate his stuff. And whoever the officer was and the judge would split the bounty. Okay. So it's just not a good deal. So that's why we have the Bill of Rights. There's certain things. If somebody comes into my home and finds something they don't like, if they don't have a search warrant and I didn't let them in the home, they can't use it. So if they came in and found, whatever, something they didn't like, an unregistered gun or whatever, but they didn't have a search warrant, then it gets thrown out in court and it can't be used against me because they didn't have a search warrant. Because who's to say somebody didn't plan or it was somebody else's, okay? So Bill of Rights is very important. I sound like it's for the guilty, but it's for the innocent. It really is, because we're supposed to do things the right way. Who's the majority party in the House of Representatives right now? Republicans. Who's the majority party in the Senate? Liberals, Democrats, okay? What is the line of succession? I know we've talked about this before. President, Vice President, and then Speaker of the House, and then President Pro Tem, and then we go to the Cabinet, and we go to the Cabinet positions that have been there the longest. So it starts with the first one created and goes on down. And we've had some discussion over that. Some have said Secretary of State, and I still need to look that up. I haven't, but I think I've seen it a couple places, Secretary of State, but I'd also seen it Secretary of Agriculture, so in our book, so I need to look that up. What term is used when judges say, hey, I'm going to judge whether that law is constitutional or not? That's called judicial review. All right. What is original jurisdiction? Original jurisdiction. That is when, like the state of Texas says, you've committed a crime in this state, we're going to hear your case. We have jurisdiction. You committed this in Denton County. I'm a Denton County judge. I'm the one that drew the straw in the pool. I get the case. I'm not going to yield. I'm not going to give you the case. It's my case. All right. Now, if another state says, well, they committed a crime here first, then we can give them original jurisdiction and we can extradite the person to them. But otherwise, I have original jurisdiction. If it was done in my county, then it comes to me. And so that's original jurisdiction. Appellate jurisdiction is when, let's say it's come to me and I've judged the case, and one of the lawyers, usually the lawyer for the defense, let's say I rule that the person goes to jail. The lawyer for the defense says, hey, wait a minute, there was some mistakes made. The judge didn't allow some stuff in the court that should have been. And if he writes up all the things that have been done wrong, or that, he could say I was drunk all the time and I was a terrible counselor for him, I didn't plead his case correctly, then you can appeal it to another court, and that's called appellate jurisdiction. That means that court has the right to hear the appeal. So you have appellate jurisdiction, original jurisdiction. Okay, original jurisdiction means it's our jurisdiction. Let me see if I might not have that on there, but it's just good to know. Let's see, what president violated the Supreme Court ruling of Dred Scott? And that was Abraham Lincoln. He violated that ruling. It was a terrible ruling. Ooh, what is a pardon? A pardon is legal forgiveness. Okay, so we say, we don't care if you did it, if you didn't do it, whatever. We're going to forgive you. You can't be retried. In this country anyway, if you go to court for something and then they rule not guilty and it comes out later that you did do the crime, they cannot take you back to court. They can't. It's called double jeopardy. Has anyone ever seen that movie, Double Jeopardy? And she's convicted for killing her husband, but then she finds out he's alive. And then it's kind of a whole ethical dilemma, because she's one of the guys, I don't remember if he was a bounty hunter or whatever, it was Tommy Lee Jones. He says, she can shoot you right now because she's already been convicted of it and can't get tried again. I don't know about that because that's a different ball of wax. But it was an interesting scenario to go, whoa, wait a minute. but he had just tricked everybody into thinking he was dead, and his wife went to jail. Let's see, extradition is when we send somebody to another country, to another state, or it can be to another country where people have committed the crime. All right, the cases we did were Marbury versus Madison, Dred Scott versus Sanford, and Roe v. Wade. We talked about Roe v. Wade. That was about abortion and about a woman having a right to choose, basically to kill her baby in her belly. They said that's a woman's right. It's not a baby yet. And so that's the one case. You will hear that over and over again in your lifetime until I hope it's overturned. But I was just hearing about that this weekend. They're so afraid if there's a justice that gets on the Supreme Court that they'll overturn Roe v. Wade. Because right now I think it's 5-4. 5 would uphold it, 4 would overturn it. So once they get 5 that would overturn it, it'll be overturned. I think it's 5-4. I just know the majority on the court uphold it, but there are some that would love to overturn it. All right, what's the part in the Constitution that holds Americans' rights? I'm so glad they held out for it. The Bill of Rights, of course. Marbury versus Madison, I would familiarize with that. That was the first case of judicial review where we looked over the law and said, oh, I don't think that's constitutional. Then, of course, you had Dred Scott, which we've already talked about, a black man. The court says, you are property. Ugh, terrible. And at that time, when Dred Scott was ruled on, there were black men and women living up north who were living their lives. Some of them held office. They might have had businesses. You couldn't always have property in your name, and I'm not sure even about them, but you could put it in someone's name. It could be, and it was just horrific. Now these people had no choice. A lot of them had to flee to Canada because they thought somebody can just come and kidnap me. I'm not an American citizen. I don't have the rights. Somebody could come and kidnap me and put me into slavery or come and reclaim me once I've gotten to freedom. So that whole thing was just terrible, terrible. I cannot imagine the sorrow that black men and women felt that night going to bed, realizing my country has betrayed me. In many cases, black men and women fought in the Civil War. So, many, many cases they fought. So imagine you fighting for your freedom and you really didn't get it. That would just be horrible. How do we elect the President of the United States? We don't really elect the President, but we elect electors. It's called the Electoral College. We elect. So let's say our classroom said, all right, Gavin, he's passionate about the Electoral College. So we'll elect Gavin because we know he'll do the right thing. So we say, all right, we're electing you, Gavin. You go and represent our class, and we take a vote in our class that represents the state of Texas. And we say, all right, we are voting for a conservative Christian. And so Gavin is then charged to vote for that conservative Christian. In every district, there is a person that represents that district. So you're charging him to go vote for that person, and that's called the Electoral College, okay? Where the electors are really the ones that elect the president, not us, but we do elect the person that elects the president. They did that for a lot of reasons. They did, and they tried to come up with the best system. Like I said, so Rhode Island, so little states would be represented just as much as big states. And I know I remember learning about that the first time thinking, that's not right. But I do kind of like that system because usually I have well-informed people that are voting. And anyway, I do kind of like that system. I know some of you guys have other opinions, but I love that. I love that we all have different opinions. It's good. We already talked about Roe v. Wade. So hopefully we know about all those. Let's see. I have some bonus questions for some people. To just see if you knew who they were. Like we already talked about, the majority leader is Eric Cantor in the House of Representatives. You don't really need to know him, but it might be a great bonus question. I'm just saying. Original jurisdiction, appellate jurisdiction. Remember, original is I have the right to hear the case. Appellate is I have the right to hear the appeal of the case. So I hope you guys do great on your test. I feel like you guys know it. Don't let that thing go up the limber system and say, oh, I can't remember. Just relax. Get you something to drink. When you're done taking your test, hand it into your parents so they can hand it in to me. It's on your honor system. You can't go back and look at your notes and tell your parents you're going to the bathroom. Sit down and just take it. You guys can do it, okay? And I'm going to give you lots of chances to bring up your grade if you don't feel like you got a good grade. We'll be taking quizzes, and I'll try to do them more often so that you can, it'll help you with your grade too. So, but you guys know this, all right? Have a great week. See you later.